Well, I'm here with my friend Steven, and just excited to sit down with you, brother, and talk a bit. So I don't know, how long have we known each other now?
I'm thinking 8 or 9 years.
Wow, it's been a while.
Yeah.
So you were saying that you didn't really grow up going to church at all, but kind of, sort of, with the belief that there was a God. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, my parents, I believe, grew up in church. We didn't really talk about it much, but I was aware of God, and I think God's had a call in my life as long as I can remember. I've been a seeker.
Mm.
Yeah, I remember in high school, I was junior high actually, talking to somebody I knew about God and asking questions. And in the military, I would visit churches. I was involved a little bit with the Navigators.
Oh yeah,
You heard of them.
yeah, I know about them.
I was involved with them for a little while. So, and just searching for God, basically,
Yeah,
in the midst of, the trials of growing up and being a young man.
yeah, yeah. You've been through some tough stuff.
Yeah, I have. God's brought me through a lot,
Yeah,
and I'm grateful.
yeah,
I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be here for the life I lived.
yeah.
I got caught up in a very promiscuous lifestyle, and through it all, I lived a life that said, "I hate you, God," but through it all, God was there for me, watching out for me, protecting me, and He brought me closer to Him over time.
Yeah. Sounds like God's really brought a different perspective on and looking backward on how you've seen Him at the different stages in your life.
Yeah, well, we look at God a lot as we look at our fathers,
Yeah,
our earthly fathers.
true.
And my father was very harsh and very mean at times.
Mm-hmm.
He had a quick temper,
Right,
judgmental. So I felt a lot of that from God, that
right.
God was looking at me that way.
I hear you.
And through many years, I've learned that God is not looking at me like that. He's gracious and kind and merciful
Yeah. Amen.
and gentle, and He has a lot of patience. God's patience is never ending.
That's right.
He is just. At the same time, He is just,
Right.
but He's merciful as well about His justice. I think it was through other people, other Christians, reflecting God's grace and mercy towards me that I was, like I said, over years, learning that He wasn't out to get me. He wasn't waiting to judge me. He wasn't waiting to smack me around. That He did love me, and not being afraid of that love.
Yeah.
Because growing up, love could mean being yelled at and being abused.
Right.
So learning that God wasn't waiting out there to do that to me.
Right.
That He loved me, and He does love me, and He cares.
Yeah.
And that in spite of the life I've lived, that He does love me.
Yeah.
And He's forgiven me.
Yeah.
And I can't express how grateful I am for that. Because I deserve to go to hell for what I've done, the life I've lived. I deserve to go to spend an eternity in hell. But through Christ, I'm going to be with God.
Yeah.
And I can be there forever, thanking Him.
Yeah.
Forever.
People today, they deal with so many different issues and perspectives of Christians and churches and all of that, and there's so many really loaded things in our culture and society today, with whether it's politics or the church's position on homosexuality or gender roles and as husband and wife and male and female. I mean, you kind of name it. What would you think would be important for people to know or hear, on some of those issues, and in light of some of the things that you've lived and experienced?
Well, I grew up living a homosexual life for a lot of my life. I think that from what I see, the church is slowly changing. There was this whole issue, a deal about becoming straight that the church was trying to offer to people struggling with that, and that just doesn't happen. It's rare, very rare that God makes somebody homosexual or straight rather. But it's learning. I dealt with a lot of judgment from church people because of that. And like I said, it's God's grace, and I'm still here going to church.
Yeah,
Because
it is.
it's hard to be. The heck with you guys.
Yeah.
If this is what you're about, I don't want anything to do with you. But God was pushing, or not only pushing, encouraging me, wanting me to be a part of his greater church. And it's through the grace and mercy of others like yourself who aren't judgmental towards people struggling with this, not trying to make us straight. Patience, kindness, the love of Christ, that I'm still here in the church. And and he's delivered me from a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I remember us working through a lot of that together, you know, and that some of those desires or tendencies may never change, but that Christ promises to be with us, and
His grace is sufficient.
His grace is sufficient, you know.
Exactly. And I no longer identify as homosexual or gay. You know, the old has come, the new is past. If any man is in Christ, he's a new creature, a new creature. And the Bible clearly teaches that it's wrong.
Well, maybe one final question, unless there's anything else you want to talk about, but just what's some of the things that you feel like God's teaching you right now?
One thing I believe is faithfulness to God. And I'm loving Jesus like I haven't before, you know, and I ask him to help me love him more, and to live a life that says I love you, and my words would say I love you, and I fail him so miserably, you know, but just to love Jesus. I think that's a big thing that's been going on lately, and what that means and how to live it out and walk it out.